I am live. Welcome, beloved, mirrors of the one presence, the one unified breath, the one universal pulse, the one infinite, eternal, here and now presence as the field I am. Welcome. This is the Vibrillionaire Convo-Sessions, Signal 4, Gate 3, the portal, the Trinity portal of remembrance. Let's take a breath. Take a breath and tune out from all the noise in the world. Let's feel into our hearts in this moment and tune into what's here. The breath. Tune into what's now. The pulse. As we unite as presence. Or as we remember what unifies us all. Presence. We're honored, beloveds. So we have a beautiful special surprise today, as our beautiful beloved Shakti is taking a little vacation, and just great gratitude for what has transpired up to this point and what is unfolded in this beautiful surrender of letting the field take care of itself. And oh, we forgot to share. So gratitude for all who's here as we mirror and represent the one. As in one surrenders, all surrender. And we are bringing up a beautiful mirror that represents such surrender that for 35 years, she's been serving the community. She's been giving with her heart, her soul, and all of her being, and truly never asking for anything back. Yet I will let the beautiful mirror share her story as we unite in the testimonial of surrender and the testimonial of the Trinity, how it comes together, and how you watching this live are invited to really tune in and feel this resonance, that with all the noise in the world, this is focused on the self. This is focused on you. To have the one that you think you are, take a breath, take a pause, and feel safe, seen, heard, and valued as life itself. So we bring our beautiful mirror, Cora Post. I call her the love shaman. She is a beautiful instrument of God and has created something beautiful and special. And we have a special announcement, and stay tuned for the Vibrillionaire membership after party, as we're going to offer 3 Vibrillionaire frequency scans and a free 12-week journey with the Vibrillionaire Vision Quest of Remembrance. So without further ado, I am with the beautiful mirror, Vibrillionaire mirror of Cora Post, Michael's wife, and beautiful vessel and channel of God. Here I am.
Hello. Let me get my camera going. Thank you, Michael. I'm just trying to figure out there we go.
Gratitude.
Now, I don't know if we like it like this. So I'm on my phone, everybody. And this is different for me. I'm not on a computer. So does it look okay like this? I have the phone sideways. Or does it cut my head off? Doesn't cut my head off.
It cuts your head off. It cuts your head off a little bit. If you put it, lengthwise. Yeah.
I like it like this.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable like
Well, you
this.
know what? Let me put the gallery on. So for the record, we're using a new computer that was gifted to us um, from our beautiful mirror. And Cora is really a testimony to all of this unfolding, the Vibrillionaire. When you see Michael in talking about the Vibrillionaire, the I am God, that was Cora. That was Cora over 12 years ago that, you know, brought out her experience in the church. And we'll let Cora share more about that. And really got Michael closer to God, got me closer to God, Michael. Um, so yeah, Cora, how am I today? How am I now in this now moment?
Hmm. Well, before we started, I got to presence. I had said I'm going to sit in my meditation room for a while and do some breathing and just sit back and
Mhm.
enjoy the silence. I look out the window and I see that I hadn't put water in my bird bath, my little birds. And so I go out there and put water in there, come back, and I get to witness the most spectacular baths, these little creatures. And so I've been just mesmerized with it until I came on. And so, how am I in this very moment grateful? Grateful to see the brilliance of creation and how these little beautiful baby birds reflect peace and unity, and they're very synchronized. I was trying to guess if it's the same birds coming back and forth to rebathe, or since there's almost hundreds of birds in this tree, are they taking turns? So I was trying to see if I see any different markings on them. They all look the same, but it was a beautiful experience. It reflected, I believe, what Vibrillionaire stands for, right? That we can find the richness within ourselves, and everything is from our perspective. Uh, most of my story is about being able to reconnect or being able to restore myself.
Mm.
And at that same time, it restores a lot of other people who are curious about how I did it or what happened and what was my story. And one thing that I love to just meditate on is that our health is a picture. It's a picture of what we acknowledge. And that doesn't mean we're punished or we're suffering in vain. It just means that we take pauses sometimes or we step up other times so that our health is always going to reflect what we acknowledge, how great life is. And as a Vibrillionaire, which for anybody here that's new might wonder, what in the world are these two people talking about? What is Vibrillionaire? Why do they do a podcast on being Vibrillionaires? And my answer to that is because I don't know if there's any other word that can describe feeling so rich in love and prosperity, in health, in mental clarity, in love. To be able to have all of that, to me, it's beyond being a millionaire. If we need to measure, I don't measure my happiness or the joy or the contentment of my life through numbers. I measure it by how full my heart is with gratitude and joy. So, cheers, because I'm going to drink some water.
Beautiful. Well, one thing that we can say is that as we're sharing, so we're doing our best to multitask because that is
Fine.
your field.
You
Right?
do your job.
This is not, Cora knows this is not Michael's field. Michael is
Mhm.
focused. Michael's only focused. Um,
Well, today I'm not in the
so
background. So today I don't get to share like other days.
I know, right? But it's beautiful because just so the audience knows, this was a surprise. This is a surprise that Cora, like, it felt like it was our birthday and it's your Earth Day month. Like 6 days away, it's gonna be your Earth Day, and we've been
Yeah.
celebrating because we celebrate every day. You know, we celebrate each other every day. Oh, we live this, and however, to honor, you know, the day that you were born, the physical avatar, it grounds and it appreciates, you know, and that's what you brought to Michael. You've really grounded Michael in the sense of accepting his humanness
Mm,
because we cannot talk about Vibrillionaire, we cannot talk about the iron presence, we cannot talk about, you know, Samadhi if we don't share about what Cora has brought to the field in the sense of the courage that it takes to not fall into the hype of needing to be something to be spiritual. Because you would see us do endless practices, endless postures, endless performance, you know, with the incense, and we're not disrespecting anybody or anything. Everybody does the best that they can. And it's really beautiful to witness how much, you know, we can be dedicated to something. But the question that Michael didn't ask is who is that doing that? Because when Michael would do these practices and we'd say, at the time, Alice, Cora, come on, you gotta sage yourself. You gotta meditate. If you don't meditate, you're not gonna be spiritual enough. And you know, we won't like as a relationship, we gotta be aligned and all of this stuff. And Michael was actually the toxic one. Michael was actually the toxic one because Cora would respond and say, I don't need to do all that work. I live it here. I feel it. I don't need to memorize and repeat all of that stuff. Like I feel the love, I feel the joy. And we weren't able to hear that. As superstitiously infatuated we were with thinking what spirituality was, we didn't realize that we were feeding a logical animal that was never satiated. That's why no matter how many practices Michael would do, what kind of anger would come from that, Cora? Do you remember?
mm. Yeah, I just raised my hand. Uh, so let me take a breath. Let me take a breath. And again, I reflect this to anyone watching live, or maybe you stumble upon this in the next week or months or years. We don't know. We don't know how long this will be out there. Uh, when we speak about Vibrillionaire, and Michael gives me all this credit about bringing God or the awareness of God or the awareness of love, of course, in the human flesh, we're like, why do I have to smell the incense like that? Sometimes it goes up my nose and it irritates my eyes, being in the physical. Or I just didn't want to have to be told. Sometimes I'm a stubborn person. I don't want to have to be told when to stand and get the incense or not get the incense. And this is just a little example. I love incense. Don't get me wrong. I love them. I use them all the time. But what comes to my heart is that I wasn't trying to be a difficult wife or a challenging person or stubborn. I take the life that I live in my spirit with God, presence, source, universe, whatever name you give it to me, it's God. Um, it's very sacred. And going through a lot of the darkness, all that shadow work that we call it, going through very lost moments within myself, I value the time I spend with God, and I value the connection that I've always had since I was a little girl. It doesn't matter what you're brought up in. I was brought up Catholic, that's a label. Then I accepted Jesus Christ when I was 15. And that's one term that they use. You accept Jesus Christ. Then once I was asked, how long have you been in the Word, sister? How long have you been, you know, supposedly like a Christian? Or how long have you been with Jesus? And I remember having that question asked to me, and I reflected back that it's not about that. Is how long have I lived a life that reflects Jesus? How long
Mm,
have I been a witness to what it is to live that life that shows the fruits of the Spirit?
yeah.
So, have I made mistakes along the way? Am I a very normal person like anybody else. There's thousands and millions of us out there that reflect thinking we're not good enough because we've faulted here, faulted there. I am so perfect in the way I was created, but back then I didn't believe that.
Mm.
So, full circle, when I come into meditation, I'm like, what is this? Why is this different from everything I've learned?
Mm.
And part of my upbringing or the beginning years of my life, I felt that it was feared into me.
Yeah.
And then I just learned to have a relationship with God, which brings me to a connection that is stronger within myself for myself. And little by little, I just started to practice more of that self love and realizing that I have choices and that the way that I live my life is a reflection of the love I have for that higher power that created me, or however you believe. For me, it's just I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. And sometimes I don't treat them very well. So then that's what brings me back to check myself and check myself and
Mm.
check myself. And in so much of that checking myself, I just came to the conclusion that I surrender. I surrender to trying to figure it out. I surrender to trying to be perfect. I surrender to wanting to control the exterior so that I can be happy, surrendering to circumstances that just happen to maybe test us. I don't know. But I surrendered to all of it and said, eh, I think I'm done. I think I'm done trying to figure it out, perfect it. And especially with my husband, telling him, nope, not this way, that way, nope, nope, and being stubborn. I don't even know. I can't tell you a specific date. It is a evolvement of a relationship that's so deep. And my favorite part about that correlates with Vibrillionaire because no one can touch it, no one can take it away. I can't be robbed of it. It won't rust. It is the perfect, most special relationship. But the funny thing is, I see it everywhere. Like I said in the beginning, I see it in the birds, in our cats, and our dogs, and our plants and people. So sometimes we get very fanatic, right? And we're, save the world and make sure that the dogs and the cats are big. Yes, they're also important beings, and I love them so much. But how do we treat our humans sometimes? What's our nature? And so I'm working on that. I'm working on that. But I love the version. I love the decisions that I've made that bring me to a place mm, of much, much richness. And Michael mentioned something about a birthday coming up. And so maybe it's also part of that. That lately, this past year really was one of my most challenging from 24, the end of 24, and then almost all of 25 was really challenging physically, emotionally. Uh, I felt like what people would call in the norm attacked, uh, in many ways, physically, emotionally, just everything. It was like testing my faith, testing that faith of everything's going to be okay. Why are you panicking? I isolated a bit, and then 26, I said, okay, I'm done with that. And I think it's because of the big 60, right? Even though we don't believe in numbers, but it is a different sense of life, right? From when I was 16 to now being almost 6 days, 16, 6 days away from being 60. It does something. It helps me reflect that I didn't survive. I didn't thrive. It's not about that. I surrendered and I came into a place of true Vibrillionaire. I tell Mike all the time, if you're saying Vibrillionaire, you need to live like one. You need to act like one. You need to say what that is without saying it. And so, what is Vibrillionaire again for those watching? The word says it, right? It's your vibes. It's that energy that you give off. It's that love that goes through the pores. You can't even put a mask on that. It just keeps flowing. And then we added it to Vibrillionaire being, if you're a millionaire, trillionaire, what else is there? Millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire. And this surpasses all kinds of those. It's just Vibrillionaire.
What a beautiful reflection that you touched on several points, and you know that we can do this for 3 days minimum. Um, we've lived a we love to, as a couple, we love to reflect that we've lived what most couples live in 40, 50 years, that we've lived in 10. Like because it's not about the length of years you live, it's about the quality of moments that you experience, right? And one thing I wanted to, touch on, that I was guided to touch on, is that what kind of strength does it take? How did you do it to experience someone that, I mean, you even said, I don't even feel spiritual around Michael, right? And Michael was attempting to help his wife, but in attempting to help his wife, he didn't realize he was causing her to feel more abused, because abuse is not just physical. The deepest abuse and the more dangerous abuse is vibrational, because vibrational you can't see. Vibrational you can't identify. Only with those that have that ability, that have, slowed down enough to see, because vibration is a slowing down. So, and you speed up. It kind of happens simultaneously, because that's why time just goes by like this, because you speed up, but you slow down, which is a divine paradox, right? But the point is this is, how did you do it, Cora? Like what did you practice when Michael would cause you to feel not spiritual enough, and then Michael would be the toxic one? You would be the one, because of you, Michael realized it's about embodiment. Even though he studied embodiment, spirituality, enlightenment, all of these different things, you brought the embodiment, because really, this is when people ask Michael, are you a Christian? Are you this? Are you that? We say we live a life of Christ likeness, life likeness, nature likeness, love likeness. So it's the likeness that you brought, because you would always say, "What is your nature?" So can you touch on that?
Well, in this container of true authenticity, like everywhere else, but again, I'm emphasizing the life that we chose of Vibrillionaire, of authenticity and joy. What I did is I flipped it around. Anytime you would get angry or upset or frustrated with the wife, right? I don't like saying it like that, but with the wife, I would just look at you and think, wow, that little boy inside is really hurting right now. And I made a commitment to God, first and foremost, for myself, that I would choose happiness and that I would choose to be honest with myself. And in gratitude at the moment, it wouldn't come in right away. But you helped me with that. You were that mirror that showed me how strong I am. And I
Right.
remember at times I would say, I don't care how tall you are, and I don't care what, this and this. When I would get really upset, I'm like, it doesn't matter how tall you are. I am telling you right now, I'm not doing this, or I don't like that, or don't tell me what to do, was my favorite phrase. Don't tell me what to do. And Michael was just, in all fairness, Michael, his intention, of course, was, we got to do this together. He wants to do everything together, everything. And so maybe I just needed a little bit of breath, right? So I always remember my commitment to God. That helps me all the time. And it comes from the verse in Romans 8:28. everything, all things work for good for those that love the Lord and are called upon his purpose. I know that there was a purpose in my life, and I know that I'm still here with a purpose. However, when we say that, it brings a lot of power to say all things. So I needed to be honest with myself. Sometimes I wanted to run, don't get me wrong. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I would say, what in the world did I get myself into? What am I doing? Why am I still here? And then I would stop and I would remember my own teachings and the things I've learned along the way is like, God doesn't make mistakes. God won't even allow a leaf to fall if it's not time. Everything is in divine timing. So every time that this would show up, I would ask myself, okay, why is this mirror showing up? Why is this manifesting? What am I doing? If you're not honest with yourself, I would talk to myself. If you're not honest with yourself, don't think you're going to get away. You're going to repeat this wherever you go. You're going to reflect and be a magnet to this type of, if you want to call it behavior or attitude, or like you said, the anger. So it was examining myself and saying, be honest, be very honest with yourself. And as soon as I was honest and took responsibility, I would say, wow, you're really being hard on him, because in reality, you're so hard on yourself.
Mm,
So I
okay.
had to swallow a lot of humble pie. And it's not settling and it's not uh, turning the other cheek kind of a thing. It really takes a lot of responsibility to sit here, especially right here in this little corner that I created, and sit here and say, ay, 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 what is it that you're not seeing in yourself? And be very honest. So I would bring out things, we all have things from the past that we say, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Is this my karma? We could have all these ideas. But at the end of the day is how I would beat myself up. I would beat myself up because I thought I failed at certain things. I hurt people. I didn't notice things when I should have noticed them. And now it's too late. Oh, so then you think you're God, Alice? That's how I would talk to myself. Cora, you think you're God? Like you think you know better. Like you know it all. And so I had to call out the know it all in me. Just call her out and say, no, you don't know it all. And you're going to keep falling on your face every time you think you know it all. And surrender to the pride and surrender to the control and all this other stuff. And then little by little, he wouldn't even ask me anymore about the incense. And that's just a little example, right? We're using that as an example, but he wouldn't even, he just stopped doing it. He just like, I just love you where you are, Cora. You just be you. You're just beautiful just the way you are. And I'm like, hey, this is cool. I could get used to this. And then later I'm like, am I not going to get incense? I remember thinking, he doesn't even share the incense anymore. It's so silly.
Funny, huh? Yeah.
It's so silly. It's like, I laugh about it. I love laughing about it. We always joke. We always say we should have a GoPro if people would only see the things we've been through and talk about and dissect and have so much fun
Oh,
doing it. Oh, gosh, forget about all those other shows. We would just be right on the top of the ratings. I'm
yeah.
serious.
Do you
It's
remember when we were, do you remember when, oh, excuse us. Do you
uh,
remember when we were in a car for 4 months on tour? That
oh,
was,
that was fun though. We didn't hardly have any.
no, it was fun, but when you're
We
going
had
through
a
a
few
blueprint,
blueprints, but
no, what I'm saying is you don't have no escape. Like
no,
you're in the
and
car.
exactly. You don't
You
know
don't
where
have a
to
room to go to. You don't have, like, you could say, I'm gonna go take a walk around the park or something,
yeah,
but eventually you know you're gonna come back in the car,
correct.
right?
But let me say something really quick because you just touched on that. And again, we don't know what we're going to say. Okay, this wasn't scripted or anything. So if there are couples out there listening to this and wondering, what are these people talking about? I want to tell you something that I value in my relationship with Michael more than I value or ever thought I could value. Is even when we were on tour, we're in that car and there's no escape. You're on a freeway and things come up and you're dissecting and talking and sharing, and it gets heated or very debatable. No, and no. And you stay on your side, I'm on my side, and don't talk to me or whatever, right? Those are the most precious, important moments because Michael and I can go at it and get so deep into the conversation, and 5 minutes later it's like nothing ever happened. And it not just nothing ever happened. Let me correct that. Let me say the words that I really want to say.
Mm,
That we learn so much from it that we only come out stronger. We learn so much from it that even in our moments of frustration, we really get to see the manifestation of each other, how we sharpen each other. Um, Michael gets me like nobody else. And I know I get Michael like nobody else. And that's the fun part. I just want to make it fun. In the beginning, I wanted to control. I'm going to be honest. And maybe now it still seems like I control, but I really don't. It's just so subtle. It's just so subtle. I just be myself, and Michael is just so genuine. He just kind of follows, and I'm like, Michael, you can say whatever you want to say or do whatever you want to do. I don't care. But it for us it's just fun. I think we have too much fun. Like, I can't explain it. Otherwise, it's going to sound like I'm being a show off. But we really do have so much fun. I, especially when I really want to get mad, and Michael cracks up when I do that jumping thing. I'm like,
mm.
you're not listening to me, and I jump
You
up
cannot,
because I'm
yeah.
so short. Way shorter than
No, it's
him.
not that. It's your energy. You cannot express anger because
I try, but
yeah,
let me tell you, other people might have a different opinion about me being angry at some
you
point.
have in certain points. You have in certain points where the anger came out. We're like, oh, should we push the button too much there, right? But one thing that we want to reflect, if we may, if I
Mhm,
may, um, that's what's really helped more than anything. And for those that are watching for the first time, or maybe you've probably figured out what are these two people talking about? And then I do want to touch on something that I reflected here um, through Cora is when we let go of the person, because the person is the one that wants to fit in. The person is the one that wants to fit in, stand out, be heard, all of that. And when that is the focus, the relationship cannot work because
mm,
each is seeing from their own perspective and each is dealing with whatever stories, traumas, abuse, because abuse doesn't have to be physical. Remember, it could be spiritual. So somebody can feel like I didn't go through that abuse and hide their abuse, thinking their abuse is not as bad as another person, but it doesn't mean it's not affecting because this is why we mirror. Because Cora and I were talking earlier today, we weren't doctoring this. We were talking just, we always break things down, and I love that. Um, so when I was like breaking things down with Amir, um, we touched on something so beautiful because Cora and Michael come from opposite backgrounds in so many different ways. But opposites do truly attract because they bring the opposite of ourself that we've rejected, we've abused, we've judged, we've criticized, and even tried to control. That the one thing that we didn't want to face in ourselves, that toxicity that we're told to avoid and all of that, right? It was exactly what we needed so that we don't fit in a world that is literally losing their mind right now. If it wasn't for this relationship, Michael would be some
mm,
spiritual wannabe guru thinking that he's all spiritual, but hiding the anger inside, hiding
mm,
the one that doesn't think they're enough when they look in the mirror. Because everything that you tell others, Michael, it's like you don't practice in yourself. But one thing that we've realized is that anytime you speak, you're speaking unconsciously. So you're going to reflect back to yourself. So the
mm,
more we let go of the person, and that's what really Cora has helped Michael so much, is Michael had to not get what he wanted to realize that that's not what he wanted. When he surrendered, he realized he was everything he ever dreamed of,
mm,
and some and more, because we live a life now, and this is why we testify to Cora that when Cora simply embodied the field
mm,
without trying to perform, it confused the heck out of Michael. And it caused Michael to think that Michael was going to lose his wife. And it would bring so much anger because Michael justified the anger to be spiritually justified to say, "Hey, I'm angry because I am trying to help you." And Michael was trying to be the savior. Michael was trying to fix Cora. Michael was trying to save Cora. So every time Cora mirrored back, I was like, oh shoot, when you're trying to save her, who are you really trying to save? When you're trying to fix her, you don't want to see the parts of yourself. So I know we've, touched on this in many, many different things, but this is what shifts when you release effort and let life lead. You're not seeing Cora and Michael about something special. You're seeing Cora and Michael surrender to what life takes care of the entire universe. And this is the universal path of least resistance that you don't have to be smart. You don't have to go study something. You already are that. And that's why Cora and Michael, when we show up and we serve other mirrors of the self, we realize there's nothing broken about anyone. But we had to discover that within ourselves because if we thought we had to fix what was broken in us, we'd be trying to fix broken people.
Mm.
So I say that to glorify God because Cora
Mm.
knows that Michael, this is something that we're not going to boast about, but we're going to boast. So Cora, you know that this is what Michael lives 24/7, just like you live 24/7, because that's why we married each other. If there was anything fake about us in the way, not fake, if there was anything deceitful about us in that way, that I'm using you for this or you using me for that because, you know, whatever reason. No, all we said is, God, I want someone that is as devoted as I am to you in my life. She screamed to the stars. Michael screamed in a different way with anger and all of that. But Michael asked for someone that he could literally talk to, break things down, and be spiritual with, that he wouldn't be looked at crazy. And when Cora came along, so do you want to share a little bit of the story? What happened?
Actually, I want to come back to something else. Not that that's not important,
No, no, no.
but
Whatever comes up.
but
There is no.
I will say that God is in control of everything, and Michael and I, yes, we are very opposite in many ways. Um, a lot of differences. You can see it on the screen. Mm, one thing that I've held in my heart to be true is uh, that I did follow my heart. And I spoke of the part where I was in darkness before, which I don't want to revisit, not just from respect to myself and anybody else involved, but because it's in the past and it's done. And I know that God is always in control. That's one thing I learned through this. When I want to take control and I think I can do it better, God is the one that gives us choice, free will, and we can choose what we want to do. Sometimes the consequences are that great, but God will only put us where we will prosper. The universe shows up, everything aligns because of that unconditional love for God and for self. Things align.
Yes.
While you're going through the darkness, it may seem like you're the worst person in the world. Why did I do this? I question myself a lot. And for the viewers to be honest, again, if you've not seen me here before, I'm talking because I came from my first marriage, which was 35 years, and I bless everything about it, and I'm grateful for everything about it. And so I know that God allowed open doors. I I felt at that moment that I had to surrender for the sake of my life. And so that's why I took Romans 8:28, that all things work for good, even those that seem so painful and so tainted or twisted. We know and God knows. And that's where I've always stood strong. God, you know my heart. My intention has always been pure. And if in any of that I've hurt anyone innocently bystanding, that is not um, the subject about today, right? With Vibrillionaire, that we're bringing this awareness. But again, maybe some of you just want to know who are these two people and why do they speak so highly of Vibrillionaire and getting into this life. So I have a scripture that also reminded me a lot. I would refer to it. Oh, hmm. And maybe this is what helped me when Michael asked the question, how did I do it when I face a lot of anger? There was a lot of anger in my past life and then anger with Michael. And I realized it wasn't anybody outside of me. It was the anger inside here. It was the anger I felt towards myself for not doing certain things that I should have done earlier in my life. So this scripture is Hebrews 13:6 that says, so we say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? What can a mere mortal do to me? And if we're all one and we believe that we're all one and how we treat others, it's going to reflect back to us. Why would we be afraid of a mere mortal, of something that comes from the flesh? I I let go of that fear a while back. And that wasn't easy. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it can, but it didn't for me. It took a while for me to let go of the fear I harbored of me, that I was destroying my life. I, I was allowing my life to go, if you want to say downhill, in my health and restoring that because I was angry at myself. The human part of me could not forgive myself for many things. I judge myself. I crucify myself. I literally abuse myself. It was easier to blame somebody else outside of me. And with all due respect to myself, that was the coward in me. I could not take responsibility and say, I'm creating this because of my perspective and the way I use patterns. It was me all along. So when we see anyone outside of us, listen carefully because this is what gave me strength. You want people to say this saying, kind of, you want to take your power back and you want to take all this back. I'll tell you what helped me, facing myself and saying, every time I point a finger and I blame someone outside of me, the weather, the circumstances, the finances or the health or the people, the husband, the ex-husband, the children, the friends or people, anybody outside of me, when I blame them, I'm literally giving them my life on a silver platter. And I'm telling them that they can control me in every single way. I become their their um, I become their slave. I'm enslaved to their perspective, their way of thinking every time I give them the blame. Well, because if so and so would have been nicer, if so and so wouldn't have said this, or if I only would have, if that would be okay first, then I'll be okay. And it doesn't work that way. So, as much as I kept learning from Michael and life and circumstances, and Vibrillionaire came along, we started to feel this joy. And we're like, no matter what happens, if the world seems like it's upside down, it can't rob our joy. And I kept feeling that. Then I realized I'm not going to give anybody else the blame. It's me, myself, and I, all of me together, my body, my mind, my soul, everything. I allowed a lot of things because they were backed up from fear. So
Mm.
if you use fear as an excuse, if you use anything or anyone outside of you as an excuse to say, I just can't, I don't know what to do, and it's so hard, well, then it just controls you. And you think you have control of everything and you don't. So just surrender, let go, let go, let go, and surrender to the thought that you know it all and you can get it all right. Just surrender and love yourself. Like I could go on and on. But
Well,
anyway,
I think
let's look at the time because
yeah, I think you touched on a
go
very
ahead,
good
sweetie.
point. I think you touched on a very good point before we go because I know we're coming to the hour. We did start a little bit late, so we got that going for
It's
us.
okay. It's
But the one thing that you said And we were watching one of our videos the other day, and we actually were going to show it, but we'll show it in the Vibrillionaire membership after party. So stay tuned, because remember, we're giving 3 Vibrillionaire frequency scans absolutely free, and one person is going away with a 12-week journey with the Vibrillionaire Vision Quest. And let me say, Cora was talking about the Vibrillionaire. I couldn't dream this life up, and every day you just when you think it's gonna be the like it's already great and it's so immense and it's so rich and it's so alive, and it's not based on what you have or what you do or how, like your worst day is your best day. I don't know how to explain that, but just when you think that you can mess things up or whatever, it's like, oh my gosh, God is there, the universe is speaking, and it's the richness is not in the physical. It will show up, but the richness is in the heart. Because let me tell you, the thing that we're chasing is the feeling. We're chasing the feeling. So the reason why we're sharing this is that for those watching this, if you felt anything that resonated, and Cora said something so beautiful and so precious, Cora,
Mm.
that we were guided to highlight it once again, because that's actually what we were going to ask. How does this remembrance ripple beyond you? And when you said that, you were done, blaming everyone else in your own words, right? Like, hey, when I'm upset at someone or, someone says something about me, it's really me. So let me embrace this whole sovereign responsibility, right? Like everything is my responsibility in here, not out here, in here for clarity, to the mirrors watching. So when you said that, we are witnessing the world of our own collective reflection of consciousness that we've neglected over thousands of years, that we chose to be born in this life. No one's here by accident. There is no accident in a perfect universe, right? So we all chose to be here, right? So we're resisting what we chose, right? So when we're here in this world and we realize, like, I chose to come into this world to take responsibility of what is only my responsibility. And this is what you've really been truly impactful with Michael. Is Michael's own responsibility is surrender. And what is surrender? Regulating your nervous system, like tuning in and knowing that you are safe here and now. Even if something is happening around you, the mind wants to see a reason why you don't invest in yourself and you fit in the world's view. But do you fit in God's view? Because
Mm.
God made you whole, perfect, and complete. So when you tune into that coherent nervous system, you realize that you are in God's kingdom. You realize that you are in God's domain, God's dimension, the universe's field. And when you tune into coherence, the whole universe aligns and adjusts everything to serve that is in coherence with it. Remember, I will only give you as much as you can bear. So here's the
Mhm.
point. Here's the point. For those that feel like the world is heavy, Cora, right? Nothing is actually physically happening to them. Something came the other day that we want to do for this live demonstration, okay? We have our beautiful baby's bed underneath us that loves to come lay with us, right? So we're going to give a little demonstration, Cora, and we want you to reflect.
It might not show very well with the background, though. Remember that.
Yeah, right here.
When you pick up an item, it doesn't really show very well.
Can you see it?
And not really. It chops up, but they can tell
Okay.
it's a bed.
Yeah, it's a little bed, but we
There
were
it is.
we were with the student Amir yesterday, and this came through, so we're going to share it here. So this right here is a little pillow. So Cora, we're gonna role play and we want you to act as if someone that doesn't know what you've come into, okay? Just act like a
I will
normal,
do my best.
okay? So
I'll do my best because I have no idea what you're going.
can you see this, Cora? And we're gonna play
Mhm.
with this in the Vibranium membership after party because this is why we do this. And Cora's always behind the scenes, but she's always here front and center with us. So because we are truly one. So this is gonna demonstrate our oneness. So you see this bed, right, Cora?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I need to ask the question very specifically because when we asked the mirror, the student, they responded as spiritually. We're talking about physically, okay?
Okay.
So, can you feel this? Can you feel this?
From where I am right now?
Yeah, can you feel physically this pinch?
No.
Can you feel this slap?
No, of course
Can you
not.
feel this punch?
Mm-mm.
No, right? But why is it when somebody gets punched online, you feel the emotional activation?
What do you mean punched online?
Like when you see somebody get hurt online, right?
Oh, you mean like if we're watching a video, like you like to watch those funny videos and people are falling and they hurt themselves?
So, and in
And
that example,
I tell you, turn it off because I feel like every time I
right,
see them fall, it hurts. I can,
right.
and
So,
really, honestly, this is funny. I'm glad you touched on that. I can actually feel. I'm like, oh, and I don't
yes,
want to see it
that's why
anymore.
we touched on that example because we love to watch funny reels and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
sometimes they're like exaggerated, but it's kind of,
but when
not
they fall,
it's not
I
coincidental you mentioned that because
well because it's supposed to be funny videos, but when they fall, I'm like, oh my gosh, and I want to cry, and then I start feeling it in my lower back, and then I start feeling it like,
okay,
oh,
that
and
that's the
so
point.
I don't want to watch it anymore.
Right, so that's the point. So number one, violence, sex, and politics get the number one attention ratings. Okay. So that's why there's a lot of violence. And it's really like us projecting what
So back to the
inwardly,
cushion.
okay, but
So back to the cushion.
it's us projecting outwardly what we've denied to feel inside. The more we feel it inside, the more we'll let see it outside.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So
what happened then?
the cushion.
Uh-huh.
So physically you couldn't feel anything, right?
No,
But as soon as I touched on the videos of the visual and emotional activation, you got it right away, right?
big time.
That's how we are tuned into oneness. The mind wants to think that we are separate, that this is a pillow outside of you. But if I tell you to tune into how this feels, you can actually feel this if I exercise your consciousness to feel this in your body right now. You'll feel the pinch. Okay? We can do that because we are that interconnected. So the point is this, for those that are watching the world, and they're waiting for a change. They're waiting for something to happen, and they think that they can't really be an aspect, a contributor of that shift, right? Because we know we're in this shift.
Hmm.
So when you feel, you're very number one, Cora is very sensitive because she's really tuned into her intuition and emotional field. For one who isn't, it might not be that impactful. Uh, the point is because for Michael, it's like, yeah, we feel it, but we don't feel it as we personalize it. So the thing is, when someone is carrying the weight of the world right now, and really they're into all these things that are happening outside of them, and they don't feel safe in this moment, we see that this is a play of mind. Because the body, there's nothing happening to the body, just like the pillow, right? This is why I gave this example. Physiologically, watching something online, hearing some news outside is not physiologically affecting them, right? But if you talk to a scientist, to a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever, yes, they're being affected cellular wise. That's affecting their DNA, and their DNA is shifting to adapt to that identity. Yes, but we're talking about physiologically, there's nothing happening. So why is it, Cora, that how did Cora come out of this invisible prison that when Michael would say something, when somebody would say something or do something, nothing was actually happening to Cora. But how did Cora shift out of that narrative?
Uh, I'll reiterate because it just came to me to well, excuse me, to that part of well, the two scriptures I told you, I would remind myself all things work for good. This is not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Beautiful.
That's one. And the other one, no one can touch me. Like literally that scripture I read where why would I fear mere mortal? Nothing can touch me. I don't even need to be protected in a sense.
Mm.
It's like I am free. And I have, when I walk um, with that unconditional love and, and, and gratitude, I just, I just feel that nothing can really touch me. Nothing can harm me from outside of me. But deeper inside, when you ask the question, say it, rephrase it again, say it again. How did I feel when?
how did you feel when you were going through what you went, or the body and the mind was going through
Hmm.
this recycling of identity, right? Because it's really
Right.
identity that something is happening to me. You know, how did
Got
Cora
it.
break the loop, the cycle of shifting that and really tuning into freedom? Because it's not that you tuned
Yeah.
into freedom, the freedom was already there. You didn't do anything for freedom.
Right. Uh,
And this is the vibrant richness. What
this
we're
is
talking
where,
about.
yeah, this is where I grounded myself. I would stop. Oh, you helped me a lot, but I'll tell you how I practiced it, right? Is I would stop and I would take a deep breath. I would look around, and truth is important. See, the truth that I talk about that's in God's word, or the truth I talk about that God gives us, is truth. I get that. Then we state facts outside of us. So if I say to myself, okay, no one's really hurting me, and whatever I brought up that triggered isn't happening anymore, I'm living the greatest life I could have ever. I didn't even think I could live like this. Let's just put it that way. I never even imagined that I could reach a point within myself of so much joy and gratitude and appreciation and love that it just oozes out every pore, and I just live by it every moment of every day. And when the frustrations want to come in, or I start to lose my sight of where I am, I just take a deep breath and I remind myself that I'm safe. There is nothing happening. And sometimes I catch myself because I'll say, like, for example, Michael is the receiver of all this most of the time. It's like, but you're not listening, or you don't get it, or you're not being nice right now. You're not being nice right now. And then I realize, wait a minute. Why am I saying that? He's trying his best with what he has and knows. Oh, but because if it's not the way Cora wants it, or back then Alice wants it, then it's not good enough. And so then that's where I check myself, because we create these lies in our heads to fit the mold that we had before of victimhood. But
And even if
when we remember, we're no longer. See, the thing is, it's not being a victim of anybody outside of yourself. We're victims of our own torture. We're
mm,
victims of the thoughts that we create, the stories we create in our head. Boy, talk about storyteller. Like, I know that I'm a really great storyteller to a certain degree about other things when we're just talking about fun and all that. But
oh,
the,
she should have been in Hollywood.
the
That's how good
storyteller,
she is.
the storyteller,
She can literally mimic the voice, the feature, the body language, the like the what do you call it? The tonality and the
the tonality. Yeah. Like
everything.
sometimes if I'm telling a story about, or am I, or I want to share something that Michael said, or anybody that's around me about something, I can mimic them to the point that the people who are around me just start laughing. And it just happened recently with some friends I was visiting. I mimicked my friend, and like, oh my gosh, you just sound like her. And so I do. I don't know how I do that. But anyway, the stories that we tell ourselves of victimhood and oh, you know, why does this happen and nobody cares, and that's what I used to sound like. So what made it turn around was just stop and really observe your surroundings, and nothing's really happening. It's all in here.
Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful touch point because we're going to continue next week because I would love to talk or in the Vibranium membership after party, whoever joins, is that we're going to talk about next week on how did the magical mirror transform your life? Because yeah, we're just going to say that. So
Funny
most
you say that. We're going to leave it right there. Let's not continue,
yeah.
because when I was in my younger years raising my children, I literally bought the cutest little mirror. There was only one at the store, not two or three or four. And I have three little girls, and everyone wanted that mirror. So I said, you know what? We're going to share it. I bought the mirror and I told them, this is our magical mirror. So funny you say that. So we'll talk about that later.
Okay. So before we go, because I know we talked about, from the journey, where is Cora now? What is Cora up to? What is Cora now? And how can someone going through something, whatever they're going through, because you've helped people with drug addiction. I mean, you've served God so that God can channel through you, whether that was in a drug rehabilitation's home, that massive transformations. I mean, people turning into counselors that would never even think about it. Others that, maybe they were, going through abuse, others that they were going through maybe like performance psychosis, that they never gave themselves that, performing so much that they
Mm-hmm.
never gave themselves that presence, that gift of presence. So where are you now? What are you up to? And how can someone that's going through something right now, uh, that invitation for you to sit down and talk with them? Because I'll say this for the field. If Michael didn't want anything to do with his life, Cora was able to stand through the fire because we even warned Cora in the beginning, right? We
Let
said,
me let me just answer the
no, we
question.
can't we can't even stand ourselves.
Let me
How can
answer the
we expect
question.
someone, hold on, how can we expect someone to try to think they could build a friendship or anything with this person that Michael just wanted to teach. He didn't want to build, friendships or relationships. So how did someone like that you were able to dissolve with so much godly love and universal presence?
Well, where am I now?
Yeah.
Hmm. I have a very dear, beautiful friend who I learned a huge lesson with, and I love something that she says, so I'm going to borrow that.
Mm,
Right now, I'm living with a lot of ease and grace.
mm,
Ease and grace. I don't push anything. I don't try and make anything happen. I I haven't um I feel like I'm finally home, home within myself. Nothing to prove, nothing to fear. And I really do love sharing. I love sharing with those that may feel that they're in chaos or pain, that there is a way out. And that now I love reflecting what true unconditional love is. I enjoy everything I am and do and be.
mm,
Mm. It's as if the healing wasn't just the cancer, the healing wasn't just the bodily aches. The wholeness comes from a heart that is at peace,
mm,
a heart that finds tranquility and so much joy in what people would call the little things. But to me, they're huge. So, just like I started this um, podcast with you, this transmission, and I mentioned those birds
mm,
bathing and chirping away, to me, that is huge. That I'm alive to witness that, that
mm,
I can see and feel the purity of the essence of those little creatures that were created for a reason. Today they brought me so much joy, so much love, so
mm,
much awareness of the power that we have within. See, they didn't ask for the water. I was aware enough to notice the empty
mm,
pan that I put out there. I was
mm,
aware enough to notice the need for their water. And before I could sit here with you, I ran out there real quick, put the water in there, and then came back and sit down. So now, whenever I notice in myself the lack of that water that flows, that life that flows, when I notice that, I put myself in check. And I would not ever want to live without having that again.
Mm.
If I ever lose sight of the grandness of God, the universe, this beautiful, humongous planet, if I ever lose touch with myself, then there's no reason for me to be here. I love my life and I love what I do and I do what I love and I enjoy every moment, every person that crosses my path. Anyone out there, if you are watching this and you do know of me or know me or have seen me, barely met me or have known me for a long time, let me just tell you, every time I've given you a hug or asked for anything, it was genuinely with a lot of love. And if I hurt anyone or if indirectly I said anything or did anything, please know that it was never from my heart. It was from a fearful woman who was just trying to survive. And now she's home. So thank you, Michael, for bringing me in today. And let's go party. Bye.
So, wow, wow, wow. Now you see why Michael married this beautiful mirror of God. So, yes, we highly recommend reaching out and just having a conversation. Open up to the mystery of the unknown to see where it can possibly go, because you're only going to see yourself reflected back to yourself. As that's the beautiful gift when one surrenders control and attachment in conditioning and expectations, the judgment falls away of the self and the perceptual self of others. So, yeah, and we're just barely getting started. And let us just say this beautiful mirror, this beautiful woman is pouring from such a full vessel that now she can give more than she can ever give before. Because this woman served like very few people I've met served, and faithful and devoted. And we'll talk about that with her as the weeks come. So remember to stay tuned. Remember to join us in the Vibrillionaire membership after party and really get that one-on-one with her and ask her the questions you want to ask. We're here. We, Shakti, Cora, and myself, Michael, not myself, Shakti, Cora, Michael, devoted to this podcast as a portal of remembrance because we are full. We don't need to do this. We don't like we want for nothing, but yet we offer from a full cup or a fuller cup, so that we can pour into others because we realize that we're only pouring into the self. There's no more pouring into another. There's pouring into I am, as I am. And what an honor it is to unite the body of God, the vessel, the universe, so that we can all remember we've been home. We've always been home. So join us and message us, uh, DM for what do you call it? Message us or comment to connect with Cora. We will include her link, her website. Can you put your website? Oh, she left. Okay, we thought that she just went in the waiting room. Okay, so she's just right here. So we have physical access. Um, we believe it's the emotional detox therapist. Let's see. Okay, it's not that one. Okay, so it's not, it's emotional detox therapist. No, emotional detox therapist. Okay, we'll include it in the link because it's not showing up. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude to all of you because it really is one. So take the time to really question what narratives do you believe in and really surrender those narratives to realize that there's an awareness, there's an intelligence, there's an aliveness that's underneath all of that noise. And that's what truly unites us as one. Much love, and we'll see you where we always remain, as I am, next week, always here and now.